The Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Crash reported in Studio City on the 101 northbound near Coldwater Canyon, blocking the left-hand lane. Northbound traffic was kind of light. Also got a crash in Griffith Park on the 134 west near Forest Lawn Drive. Middle lane is taken away there. They're trying to get that moved to the shoulder, so watch for slowing coming away from the 5 freeway. In Porter Ranch, had a crash reported on the 118 westbound past Casita Boulevard. Might still be blocking the left-hand lane. It's a bit slow from Balboa Boulevard. And got an injury crash in Anaheim, blocking the right lane, 57 southbound for Lincoln Avenue.
Get ready as the Los Angeles Dodgers take on their rivals to the south, the San Diego Padres, in an action-packed series beginning Friday, May 12th to Sunday, May 14th at Dodger Stadium. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/tickets.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Miami Heat are at home for the next 2 games in the NBA Finals, but they're getting no respect from the odds makers in Vegas. Despite losing Game 2, the Denver Nuggets are 2.5-point favorites in Game 3 Wednesday night. The Nuggets had won 7 straight playoff games before Sunday's loss. Apparently, the odds makers believe the Nuggets still have the upper hand in the finals. The series is tied at 1-1. After losing 2 or 3 to the Yankees over the weekend, the Dodgers no longer have sole possession of first place in the NL West. They fell into a tie for first with Arizona. The Dodgers begin a 6-game road trip today in Cincinnati, first pitch at 4:10. Former Rams linebacker Leonard Floyd signed a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. Floyd had 9 sacks in each of his last 3 seasons with the Rams. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I feel like
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress, the Gathering Spot, the Institute for Nonviolence, and Days of Dialogue for a Juneteenth program called State of the Freed to educate fellow citizens about the significance of the holiday and efforts around reparations for descendants of slaves living in California. Program participants include California Reparations Task Force member Assemblyman Reginald Jones Sawyer and State Senator Steve Bradford, along with KBLA's own Dominique DePrima, Ariva Martin, Tavis Smiley, and many more. It all happens Saturday, June 10th, and you could be selected to attend this special invitation-only Juneteenth event along with Dominique, Ariva, and Tavis. All you have to do is go to the KBLA 1580 website, click on the Juneteenth State of the Freed icon on the homepage, and register to win entrance into this empowering affair. Or you can watch the live stream of this special Juneteenth event by going to www.empowermentcongress.org/Juneteenth. But head to the KBLA 1580 website right now for your chance to join us live on site Saturday, June 10th for the State of the Freed. This is a Juneteenth community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
I feel like freedom.
1, 2, 3, go! I'm gonna try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the groove. Yes, I will. Yeah. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back in style again.
Live from Leimert Park, USA, I'm Tavis Smiley, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. So glad to see you and me back in stride again. Our phone number, 1-800-920-1580, 1-800-920-1580. All of our socials can be found at KBLA 1580. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Everything at KBLA 1580. Let me invite you right now to download our app at KBLA 1580. Download the app and listen to us live anywhere in the world in real time, but only by downloading our app right now at KBLA 1580. Should you miss us any day in real time, check out the podcast of our program by going to the app, the website, Anchor, Spotify, Apple, so many places to get the podcast and listen at your leisure should you miss us any day in real time. But I am delighted to have you along live with us today for the next 3 hours. Let me also invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, the story of a heroic enslaved black woman named Anarcha, who was forced to endure grueling experimental surgeries without anesthesia so that Dr. J. Marion Sims could be regarded as the father of modern gynecology. As statues were erected to honor Dr. Sims, Anarcha's story was relegated to the shadows. Her sacrifice and contributions diminished and overlooked until now. Author J.C. Hallman joins us in hour 2 to talk about a young enslaved black woman, a devious surgeon, and the harrowing birth of modern women's health. This is one of those hidden figures kind of stories. No way he becomes the father of modern gynecology. No way that we see women's health advance in the way that it has without this enslaved woman named Anarcha. We'll talk about that in hour 2. In our third hour, acclaimed sax virtuoso Kamasi Washington joins us in hour 3 today. Alongside Herbie Hancock, Kamasi is the 2023 Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival co-curator, and he joins us to talk about his music and the festival taking place June 17th and 18th. I look forward to a conversation with Kamasi Washington later in today's program. Also in the third hour, thoughts on the presidential campaign of Cornel West. Yesterday on this program, he announced, not on this program, while we were on the air, he announced that he's running for president as a candidate for the People's Party, and the phone started blowing up asking me, given my 30-year friendship with Dr. West, whether or not it was true. Indeed, it is true. And by now you know that. He's been all over the news in the last 24 hours about his announcement running for president. I'll have some thoughts about that in our third hour about his campaign for the White House and what it means and why he's doing it and what I think of it. More importantly, I should tell you now that on Thursday, in our first hour, Dr. West will be our guest live in studio. He'll be in Los Angeles on Thursday. Could have had him on today or tomorrow, but I waited until Thursday because he will be in L.A. and in this studio. So the first hour of our Thursday program, 9 to 10 Pacific time, Cornel West, Dr. West, presidential candidate Cornel West, live in studio, 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. That said, in this first hour today, last week, U.S. Senator Marco Rubio introduced what he's calling the Fairness in Higher Education Accreditation Act, which would ban accreditation officials from considering an educational institution's DEI or affirmative action policies when determining accreditation. This comes after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis recently made headlines by signing a bill into law that defunds diversity programs at the state's public colleges, while also imposing restrictions on how race can be addressed in numerous cases. These actions align with a broader trend across the nation where conservative voices have been criticizing and targeting initiatives that promote diversity in higher education. When we come forward, we'll commence a conversation with Leah Smiley, president of the Society for Diversity, right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
The pandemic may be over, but many Angelinos could be at risk of losing the place they call home. It's important to know your rights as a residential renter in the city of LA. Did you know eviction protection still exists for unpaid COVID-19 rental debt that was due before March 31st, 2023? And that you have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice, also known as an unlawful detainer. Learn more about your rental rights at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home.
The Heart of a Black Man, inspiring stories of triumph and resilience. Co-authored by 30 black men. Message of hope and empowerment. RSVP today at MalikBooks.com. Saturday, June 10th at 5 p.m. Westfield Culver City Mall. Come out and meet and greet 4 black men sharing their personal stories. Also, meet newly published co-author Malik Muhammad. Founder of Malik Books and book activist will be discussing and signing his chapter, From Devastation to Elevation. Saturday, June 10th at 5 p.m. RSVP today at MalikBooks.com. Westfield Culver City Mall. Come meet and greet co-authors Dr. Rael Sims, Cornell Ward, and Kendry Berry. Meet and greet book signing event, The Heart of a Black Man at MalikBooks.com.
Moments like seeing my son's team cheer him on mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative NBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
Are you looking to steer your career in a new direction? Driving for Culver City Bus can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Culver City Bus is looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing team. Culver City Bus offers on-the-job training starting at $19.10 per hour, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus is a great employer. Let Culver City Bus connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for career advancement, and passionate about making a difference in the community, you are invited to join the Culver City Bus team. Start your journey today by submitting an application at culvercity.org/jobs. For more info, visit culvercitybus.com or call live customer service operators at 310-253-6500.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
It was free?
Nope.
The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks?
Nope. It's the ding.
Oh yeah, love the ding.
Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingaroner, the ring-a-ding-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
Let's unpack a little bit more with Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues right now. Right now. Right now.
I'm Tavis Smiley. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad about it. Our phone number, 1-800-920-1580, 1-800-920-1580. That is the music of the great Dizzy Gillespie. June is Black Music Month, and every day during the month of June that I'm on the air, all 3 hours of our program, we're playing the music of a particular artist in residence, if you will, for 3 hours at least. Yesterday's featured artist was Sly and the Family Stone, and today we're going the other direction with Dizzy Gillespie. So all 3 hours of our program today, you'll be hearing some of the best of Dizzy Gillespie on KBLA Talk 1580 as we celebrate Black Music Month here in the month of June. That said, let's commence this conversation now with Leah Smiley. who is the president of the Society for Diversity. If the last name sounds familiar, it's because we are related. She is married to my brother Derwin, full disclosure, but she's the president of this Society for Diversity, which is the leading organization in the country when it comes to DE&I training, and I'm delighted to have Leah Smiley on this program. Leah, how are you today?
Very good. Hi, Tavis. How are you?
If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. You know me. I'm glad to be on with you, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about this issue. Let me just start by saying that on top of everything I said moments ago about why we're having this conversation, this legislation introduced by Republican Senator Marco Rubio out of Florida, of course, the governor of his state, Ron DeSantis, and all his ugly antics when it comes to DE&I. We're having the conversation based on that, but there's a much larger frame here, as you well know, that we are waiting literally for the affirmative action decision from the Supreme Court. When they get to June, as most of you know, we start getting these decisions, and literally every day, every other day, there are 1, 2, or 3 announcements, rulings being delivered to the American public, courtesy of the spokesperson for the Supreme Court, about what the court has decided on a variety of issues. So we are in that season right now. Excuse me. We're in that season right now where all of these decisions are coming forward. And so we are expecting any moment now a decision from the United States Supreme Court on affirmative action. And for those of us who have half a brain, we fully expect that affirmative action as we have known it is going to go by the wayside. So you put that on top of this, these attacks on DE&I in Florida and beyond, and you've got a bad brew here of what is coming for us, I should say, into the future. So all that said, let me just ask you a broad question: what you think is happening right now? Why is all of this happening in this present moment, Lee? And then we'll get more specific as we move through the hour.
So today is National Higher Education Day, and I think today's topic is very appropriate for the discussion that we're going to have. The bigger picture that we are looking at is the issue of demographics and power, and I'm going to talk about both issues, right? So we're going to look deeper at the demographics, specifically when we talk about those demographics about Black folks. But also this narrative that is designed to hold on to power and to make it rule by the few. And that's what we've seen over the last couple of months, rule by the few. And I think that's the bigger issue that we're talking about, the demographics and this whole power dynamic.
So the demographics you're talking about, I assume, are the numbers we reference all the time, that soon the nation will be a majority-minority country where white folk are outnumbered for the first time. Is that what you're talking about, basically?
Yes, and certainly that has already happened, right? It's been happening for years. And the issue is the demographics are incorrect. President Trump's team did as much as admitted it when they said, we like to make sure that we are in power when the demographic counts are done, because we want to make sure that we can tell our story the way we want to tell it. In all the times that we've had the census, no one really questions the census data until recently. And you have to look at the fact that in 1990, Bush was in office. In 2020, you had Trump. 1970, you had Nixon. But even when Carter, Obama, and Clinton were in office, they never questioned those demographics. Why is it that the Black population has been 12 to 15% of the United States population for the last 40-something years? Right? We don't ask those kind of questions. But Pew Research just did a report in 2023 where they said the Black population grew by 30% since 2000. So how can we grow consistently over all these years and still only maintain 12 to 15% of the U.S. population?
So you're saying your view is, based on this Pew Research, that the count of African Americans in the country is not completely accurate.
Right. And certainly there are a lot of people who perpetuate the stereotypes based on the counts that have been coming forth. Like every black person lives in an urban area. Every, black family is lacking a dad. Every black family is poor and struggling. And certainly that is the case for a lot of families, but it's not every family in the black community. And there is no comprehensive report that gives a complete picture of the black community. No one can point to that. Even when we had the most recent demographics, one of the things, the most recent census counts, one of the things that they said was, well, we weren't able to get to the black and the Hispanic communities in full, right? Mm-hmm. And the people who were fighting about the demographics, they already know what the demographics are. It's just the rest of us who don't know and have an accurate picture of what the demographics are. But the demographics have been changing for years. They've already changed. The only difference is many of us are operating on old data.
Mm-hmm. So link. I'm just trying to process all this as you in real time. So link that demographic data that you've just laid out to this attack by Rubio, DeSantis, and others on DE&I.
One of the things that's happening is when you control the data, when you control the narrative, you can make people's perceptions of other groups. You can influence people's perceptions of other groups. So one of the things that happens is you have people that justify black people in particular being treated the way that we are because, there's data out there that suggests, okay, 12% of the population is committing 90% of the crime, right? And you have data out there that suggests even when we're talking about affirmative action, up until recently, you had individuals who were Asians who were labeled as the model minority group. Mm-hmm. They were fighting against college admissions for black students, not knowing, that the real data showed that the Nepo babies were taking the spots. Those legacies, the wealthy donors, faculty and staff relatives, that's who was taking the spots, not black and Latino students. So as we're looking at this current attack that's going on, it's driven by the fact that you have some people that have proximity to whiteness, as well as those who are perhaps conservative, and they're saying, hey, you know what? We can continue along what we're doing, even rolling back the needle, because these demographics suggest that these black people don't know what they're doing if we were to let them get in control, right? Mm-hmm. We don't want them to be the dominant group, because look at Chicago, look at Baltimore, look at these top black cities. We're not going to look at West Virginia or Mississippi or Kentucky. We're going to look at these top black cities where there are some things going on, where there are lots of challenges with crime, with drugs and all sorts of different things. And we're going to make this case for these attacks on the schools. And certainly part of the problem is going to go back to the DEI initiative. When we had George Floyd being murdered and companies and schools and universities and government agencies starting DEI initiatives for the first time en masse, you had a lot of DEI people that just jumped into the field, but they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't invest in doing the work properly. This is a profession. And as a profession, it requires a level of knowledge and skill. Mm-hmm. And certainly you had some people that were perpetuating stereotypes. For instance, I read that there was a chief diversity officer of a K-12 school district, and they said, we're going to take all the black people and brown people on a bus trip to universities because they are the underprivileged kids, and they are the individuals who are poor and need this more than anybody else. I'm like, what? First of all, that's not even true. It's based on a stereotype, number one. But number two, there are all sorts of students, black, brown, white, black, purple, green, who need to have access to first-generation college programs, right? And certainly, as we're doing DEI, the work that we're doing is for everyone. Even though there are a disproportionate number of people that are black and brown who are impacted, our work should benefit everyone.
Let me cut in there real quick and ask you. To those companies that you referenced a moment ago, there were just a plethora of companies. I mean, one couldn't even count all the companies, it seems to me, that were making all these public pronouncements about how much better they were going to do around the issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And now they say belonging. We'll come to that a little bit later and ask you what you think of that word being added to the mix. But all these companies came forward, to your point, in the after the murder of George Floyd, saying they were going to do better. And now we see a complete U-turn on that. I've been reading a lot lately. I don't read everything that you read, or probably as much as you read. This is your field, not mine. But I'm reading enough stuff to convince me that companies have done a U-turn on this. We just recently commemorated, as you know, the 3rd anniversary of the murder of George Floyd. And it's stunning to look at all these companies who promised to do X, Y, or Z, who have now either fired, they're let go, downsize, pink slip, pick your word. These DE&I officials are being pushed out of corporate America as these companies are cutting budgets, trying to save money. But the commitment, for a variety of reasons, isn't there now the way it was 3 years ago. And I've said repeatedly, somebody ought to track that. Somebody ought to do the research and win a Pulitzer Prize, tracking all these companies who made these commitments 3 years ago and did not live up to them, and now many, again, are doing U-turns. What do you make of the U-turn these companies are making right about now, 3 years after promising to do better?
So I'm going to put this back on the companies who hire unskilled diversity officers, because some of these diversity officers have folks reading books, and they should have been focusing on the strategy. And certainly they also should have been learning what the business case is. The business case is a financial justification for the use of resources. It is what demonstrates the return on investment. If you go back to the history of DEI, the history is that affirmative action was started, right? And then fast forward, companies said, look, affirmative action is government mandated. It's not something that is going to work for us over the long term. What would do better for us is diversity. So corporations created this concept of diversity for the purposes of not only diversifying their customer base and tapping into a larger market, but also diversifying their employee base. So when you think about why they started in the first place, is because of their desire to tap into a different market. Right. And then you have a group of people now that are saying, hey, we don't want to talk about the business case anymore. You need that financial justification. This field has been around for 40-something years. And now all of a sudden, folks have lost sight of why we're doing this. There is a purpose for DEI in organizations. And the purpose isn't just to make people feel good. It is to ensure that the organization is going to have a sustainable path in the future. Otherwise, all the people that they're letting go, they're going to be starting businesses that compete with the companies that just let them go.
So, go ahead, finish your point. I got 30 seconds.
So this whole idea of understanding the history ties into why a lot of companies have said, look, we're going to get rid of this. We're not going to do this anymore, because they don't really understand the purpose for doing DEI.
Yep. I want to interrogate that a bit more, because it seems to me that if the country is moving in a direction where people of color combined are going to outnumber, our good white brothers and sisters, why you would abandon a program like that at a moment like this doesn't make much sense to me. And I want to get more expressly into what Senator Marco Rubio has introduced in the Senate, this so-called Fairness in Higher Education Accreditation Act, more expressly into what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida. And again, as we await this decision by the Supreme Court that we do not think is going to be in our best interest when it comes to a corrective program like affirmative action, a great deal more to unpack with Leah Smiley, president of the Society for Diversity, when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Salt peanuts.
Be sure to like and follow Tavis Smiley at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Now, here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The feud between the governors of California and Florida is ramping up. California Democrat Gavin Newsom is threatening Florida Republican and presidential candidate Ron DeSantis with kidnapping charges. It stems from South American migrants being sent to Sacramento, allegedly by the state of Florida. A former Princeton professor and progressive black activist, Cornel West, has announced he's running for president on a third-party ticket. He says he'll run on the People's Party ticket. West helped fund the Center for African American Studies at Princeton. In his announcement, he criticized the leading candidates for both major parties, incumbent President Joe Biden and former President Trump. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Looks like they're clearing this trouble in Griffith Park, Glendale on the 134 west at the 5. Earlier wreck is gone, but you're tapping the brakes from around the 2 freeway. Carson on the 110 south at Carson Street. Crash onto the right side, slow from Torrance Boulevard. Gardena on the 110 south at Rosecrans, listing a wreck here with a busy drive from the 105. And West LA, we're still seeing that top on the 10 east, approaching the 405. A crash in the clearing stages, but leaving the Santa Monica area as far back as Lincoln. We're seeing a very, very busy commute.
Get ready as the Los Angeles Dodgers take on their rivals to the south, the San Diego Padres, in an action-packed series beginning Friday, May 12th to Sunday, May 14th at Dodger Stadium. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/tickets.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Miami Heat are at home for the next 2 games in the NBA Finals, but they're getting no respect from the odds makers in Vegas. Despite losing Game 2, the Denver Nuggets are 2.5-point favorites in Game 3 Wednesday night. The Nuggets had won 7 straight playoff games before Sunday's loss. Apparently, the odds makers believe the Nuggets still have the upper hand in the finals. The series is tied at 1-1. After losing 2 or 3 to the Yankees over the weekend, the Dodgers no longer have sole possession of first place in the NL West. They fell into a tie for first with Arizona. The Dodgers begin a 6-game road trip today in Cincinnati. First pitch at 4:10. Former Rams linebacker Leonard Floyd signed a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. Floyd had 9 sacks in each of his last 3 seasons with the Rams. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Everybody in the house, make some noise!
Is there a better day of the year to celebrate the anniversary of the only unapologetically progressive talk station west of the Mississippi, focused on issues that impact the black community?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We think not. A station that amplifies black voices like yours with hosts and guests who look and sound like you. Celebrating our 2nd anniversary on Juneteenth. We're KBLA Talk 1580. And you ain't seen nothing yet. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you a small or micro business owner looking for ways to succeed after the pandemic? LA County has got you covered. Gain access to economic opportunity grants and technical assistance to help your business thrive. Whether you need mentorship or capital investment programs, they're here to help. Find out if you qualify at recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. That's recovery.lacounty.gov/programs. LA County and you, moving forward together.
Did you know addiction to drugs like meth or cocaine is a disease and not a choice? But getting help is. If you have stimulant use disorder, you, your family, and friends may have a lot of questions, including where to start. Choose Change California can help. Make a change today and find a proven treatment option for you at choosechangeca.org.
Hi, it's Dominique DePrima from KBLA Talk 1580. It's going down on Juneteenth weekend, Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. for the Ribbon Cutting and Street Festival for the New Orleans Corridor in Los Angeles. You know it. It's about time this important part of our story, our culture, was recognized by LA. Join Mayor Karen Bass, New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, Councilwoman Heather Hutt, and Grammy Award-winning musicians Irvin Mayfield, Terrace Martin, and 1,500 or Nothing for an amazing celebration. Go to NOLA2LAtickets.org to claim your free ticket. That's NOLA2LAtickets.org. I'll be your MC, and I will see you there. Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. It's the New Orleans Corridor in LA for Juneteenth 2023.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
I'm Tavis Smiley. That's Dizzy Gillespie. This is June, Black Music Month, and we are playing the music of Dizzy Gillespie all 3 hours of today's program. Every day this month, you can expect to hear the music of a great African-American artist as we celebrate once again. June is Black Music Month, and today that artist is Dizzy Gillespie. Man, he sounds good. Turn that up, Miles, a little bit, just a little bit. In fact, yeah, this is Dizzy and Sonny Rollins, is it not? Yeah. You can't do better than that. Dizzy and Sonny Rollins. The Colossus. Yeah, I hate to step on Dizzy and Sonny, but the show must go on, as they say. Our guest in this hour is Leah Smiley. She is president of the Society for Diversity, and we are talking about these increasing attacks. It's one of these subjects that I frankly get tired of talking about, but I can't avoid it because the attacks are becoming more and more vicious every day. So last week, in case you've just tuned in, U.S. Senator Marco Rubio, Republican of Florida, of course, introduced in the Senate what he's calling the Fairness in Higher Education Accreditation Act. That's a joke, the name itself. It would ban accreditation officials from considering an educational institution's DEI or affirmative action policies when determining accreditation. We'll talk in a moment about what this means for these institutions of higher learning when it comes to their accreditation. We'll talk about that, I promise, in a few moments. This comes after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Republican, recently made headlines, of course, by signing a bill into law that defunds diversity programs at the state's public colleges, while also imposing restrictions on how race can be addressed in numerous courses. And then you layer, once again, on top of all of that, the pending decision that we are expecting from the U.S. Supreme Court to end affirmative action as we have known it. You put all that together, it's not a pretty picture when it comes to corrective programs for people of color, certainly African Americans. Leah, there are a couple of things you said before the break I want to come back to right quick before I move forward, and that is I heard the comment that you made, as I'm sure the audience did as well, about these untrained, self-proclaimed DE&I experts that many of these corporations hired after the murder of George Floyd, and these persons really weren't committed to doing their job, didn't know how to do their job, et cetera, et cetera. If that comment is true, and I'm certain that it is, then doesn't that mean that some of these critics of DE&I are correct in their criticism of these programs?
Yes. So I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I was telling my son, hey, get off that cell phone and read a book. So he was like, okay, I'm going to read a book with cuss words in it. I'm like, what? So he pulls out a book that has cuss words in it. And I'm like, where did you get this book? He's at the school library. Here he is, 8, 9 years old, reading a book with cuss words in it that he got from the school library. The reality is that some of those books that were in the school libraries are and were inappropriate for kids. So what happened was you just had some librarian some DEI person that said, hey, we want to get some books by diverse people. And instead of them doing the due diligence to find actual authors that specialize in kids' books, they just said, we're going to put anything in here, even if it's not age appropriate. And that's the kind of stuff that I say is an example of how someone is not taking this profession seriously. If you were taking this stuff seriously, you would think, okay, you know what? If I put books that are inappropriate in the libraries just to say they're written by these diverse authors, there's a potential that there could be backlash, right? So these are the kind of things that you have to think about, even when it comes to our CEOs. Think about this. There has been research that has shown that CEOs have been more influential and more popular than some politicians. Why is it that we spend a lot of our time talking about privilege and not really showing people how to use their privilege as power? So imagine a CEO knowing how to use his or her privilege as power and being able to stand up and say, wait a minute, you can't make these changes in the school because my workforce is going to be impacted. My ability to compete is going to be impacted. The ability for me to recruit talent during this talent shortage, during a highly competitive time, is going to be impacted. Why don't these CEOs know what to say? Why don't they know to partner with these college presidents to make it so that they say, you know what, we're going to stand up to these politicians. We're going to make it so that we use our privilege as power to get stuff done.
It is a powerful point, and I'm not naive in asking this. Why do you think that isn't happening?
Because you have people that are scared. They saw what happened with Disney, and certainly Disney CEO had to be replaced. And certainly even the person that replaced him, he has kind of taken a stance where it hasn't been that forceful. Billionaire Mark Cuban just came out and said, look, DEI is great for business. It's for the purposes of diversification, going back to that purpose again. But how many other CEOs came out after Mark Cuban and said, you're right, we're going to join in. We need to start speaking up and speaking out about this issue? None. I haven't heard any.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm sorry. I hear your point, and you're right. There have not been a flood of these CEOs who are standing up affirmatively supporting this corrective program, affirmative action, or DEI for that matter. Let me ask you right quick here, watching my clock. With regard to this legislation that Marco Rubio introduced last week, how does this so-called Fairness in Higher Education Accreditation Act end up, you think, in the long term, affecting the accreditation of institutions?
Will have a huge impact. So there is this conservative playbook, and the playbook is to make DEI equivalent to all things that are unpopular and that cause people to be emotional, right? And certainly when you think about the playbook, it is a very successful strategy, but we have to counteract the strategy. We can't just say, okay, well, you know what, these folks are passing these laws, and we're just going to sit back and relax and take it. No. Derwin, who is our CEO, he's also a member of illustrious Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And he was asked to speak at Ball State one year on the topic, has Greek life gone too far? And he flipped it to Black Greek life hasn't gone far enough. And we have to do the same thing when it comes to DEI. We didn't go far enough, and there's still much further for us to go. So some of these folks that worked in DEI that lost their jobs, they need to be running for office.
Yeah.
They need to start businesses. They need to make it so that they are strategically going to those school board meetings in their local communities and getting involved and thinking about how they can make an impact even if their title is not Chief Diversity Officer.
Yeah. So that's the accreditation issue that Marco Rubio is going after. His friend Ron DeSantis, the governor of the state of Florida, is going after diversity programs at state colleges, state public colleges, and defunding them. In 45 seconds or so, and we'll continue on the other side. Tell me what the impact of this is going to be, defunding diversity programs at state colleges.
The impact is going to be that people stop having DEI jobs. And a lot of companies, as we've seen, are going to stop doing DEI altogether. Some companies have already started talking about changing the name, like they're playing word bingo. But certainly we have to be more strategic. Again, flipping the script and saying, instead of us trying to go straight and make it so that we keep doing the same stuff that we've been doing, let's add some intentionality to what we're doing. And I can talk about that when we come back from break.
We'll do that. And speaking of words, I want to talk about this issue, belonging, that's now being added to the DE&I conversation. Leah Smiley, President, Society for Diversity, right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Your health is important, so keep yourself and your family covered with Medi-Cal. Medi-Cal renewals will be happening soon, so if you have Medi-Cal, make sure you don't miss any important renewal information. If you've moved in the last 3 years, check and update your mailing address, email address, and phone number. Learn more at keepmedicalcoverage.org. That's keepmedicalcoverage.org. Paid for by the California Department of Healthcare Services.
The party of the summer is back. The Hollywood Bowl Jazz Festival returns on June 17th and 18th with an incredible lineup curated by Kamasi Washington and Herbie Hancock. See Kamasi himself, Belle Biv DeVoe, West Coast Get Down with Raphael Sadiq and Leon Bridges, St. Paul and the Broken Bones, Samara Joy, Diggable Planets, Poncho Sanchez, Aziza, The Soul Rebels with Big Frida, and many more. Hosted by Arsenio Hall. Get your tickets now at HollywoodBowl.com. Hollywood Bowl, forever summer.
Have you faced discrimination in Los Angeles? The City of LA Civil Rights Department can help. They investigate private sector discrimination in LA City in commerce, education, employment, and housing. If you're facing discrimination, submit a complaint online for free at laisforeveryone.com. That's laisforeveryone.com or call 213-978-1845.
The Los Angeles Public Library proudly presents the June Jubilee inaugural event commemorating Juneteenth. Join us on June 10th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Central Library as we celebrate the rich Black culture in our city. This free event will include a special opening celebration featuring African drums procession and a libation ceremony at 9 a.m. along with speakers, workshops, live entertainment, and more for the whole family. Parking is only $1 with a validation. Learn more at lapl.org/Jubilee. That is lapl.org/JUBILEE.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital.
Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
Conversations that matter. You're listening to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
Leah Smiley, there's a point you wanted to finish your point, and then I want to ask you about this word belonging.
Everything is related, from the affirmative action dismantling to the accreditation standards being reduced and made it so that you can't tie DEI to accreditation, to the attacks on DEI from the book bans and the teacher dismissals and more. Everything is related. So even if people say, okay, well, you know what? Affirmative action is going away. We'll still have DEI. What the states are trying to do is make it so that there's nothing for folks to fall back on, that there is no hope. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the goal, right?
No, and that's the point I tried to make earlier, and I'm glad you put your finger on it so brilliantly and so directly, because when you are living in a space in a country where they wipe out a corrective program like affirmative action, which we expect to happen, and then to Leah's point, they attack accreditation based on DEI, and then they defund diversity programs at public colleges. Again, you take the point that there'll be nothing to fall back on. There'll be nothing for people of color to hearken to advance their objectives, their ends and aims when it comes to having access to higher education and beyond. And you can certainly believe this, which we haven't talked about in this hour, but they start with affirmative action in education. That's what the Supreme Court case is about. It's about Harvard and UNC, North Carolina. So they start attacking affirmative action, DE&I in public education, or private education for that matter, and then it goes to every other sphere of human endeavor. So it starts in education, but it's going to spread, trust and believe, and that's the scary part. Right. Let me ask you about this word belonging. Everywhere I look now, they've added the word belonging to whatever DE&I will still exist in the next few months or years, to the extent anything still exists. They've not added the word belonging to that. How do you process that? What's that all about?
So a lot of people are trying to make folks comfortable and make them feel good about this idea of DEI. But DEI is supposed to be uncomfortable, right? Mm-hmm. That's how you get to change. Mm-hmm. You don't grow if you're not uncomfortable. Even in the Bible, it says iron sharpens iron, right? And when you think about the competitiveness of admitting people into colleges who are diverse, or the competitiveness of having people now compete in a transparent manner to get to the top spots in an organization, there's some folks that don't want to compete. They would just want mediocrity. Because even last year, for the 2022 to 2023 college admissions year, it was the most diverse admissions in history. And guess what? It was also the most competitive, where they had the best grades in history. So now you have all these people that are seeing the impact of competition. So again, this goes beyond just looking at it from, the political perspective. It goes to, if we can control how Black folks think about themselves, they won't strive for the greatness that lies within them. If we can control how Black and brown people feel about their prospects for the future, then we can make sure that they stop trying to change it, right? So we have to make it so that we're not thinking on that level, that we're going above and beyond, and we're leveling up our game.
Nope. I hear your point about not going far enough. Not an issue that people really want to address, but I take your point. Our remaining moments with Leah Smiley when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Did you know addiction to drugs like meth or cocaine is a disease and not a choice? But getting help is. If you have stimulant use disorder, you, your family, and friends may have a lot of questions, including where to start. Choose Change California can help. Make a change today. and find a proven treatment option for you at choosechangeca.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
As a dentist, I know what my patients are saying when they really can't speak. She says her gums have been bleeding. Is there anything you can do? Absolutely. You can try New Crest Gum Detoxify and Restore. Yup, New Crest Gum Detoxify and Restore is professionally designed to start healing gums from day one. Right. Healthy gums, healthy mouth.
Crest Gum Detoxify and Restore. Smile. Crest has you covered.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley, recipient of the highest honor in the talk radio industry, the coveted Freedom of Speech Award at Talkers 2023. Let's get back to more of Tavis right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
Got about 3 minutes left in this conversation, Leah. Let me ask this question, which is, I guess, the ultimate question, the penultimate question. If they are about to do away, they being the U.S. Supreme Court, do away with affirmative action as we've known it, if Marco Rubio's bill advances in the House and in the Senate, and we start banning accreditation officials from considering an educational institution's DE&I or affirmative action policies when determining their accreditation, and if we see other governors and other elected officials continue to defund diversity programs at colleges and universities, what say you about the future of these corrective programs that have been on the books for quite some time now?
My question is, why do we have to wait for somebody to give us something?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we just take it, right? So that boils down to what actions are we taking every day to make sure that we are doing our part? There has to be a specific action that we're taking, and it requires courage to make it so that we are focused on the future. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us unique. Fear polarizes. It makes you not want to take those actions that are necessary, and we have to make it so that we are intentional, starting with our own households and making it so that we step outside of our households and do some things also. You have to make it so that even when we're talking about our children and their friends and our other relatives, if you don't have children, making it so that you're educating, that you're encouraging them not to fall into the narrative that it doesn't make any sense what you do. College isn't for everybody. There was just data yesterday that showed that when you don't go to college, you earn 70% less than you would if you would have gone to college. And certainly college has made a difference in the Black community, making it so that we are, still breaking those barriers. That we, I read during Black History Month, the history is being made every day, not only in terms of folks doing things that have never been done before in communities, but also in our households. LeBron James even said it himself. He said, you know what? My kid is going to be the first one in our family to go to college. And thinking about not only making history in our households, but in our communities. And I know I don't have a lot of time, but
No, I take your point, and obviously I feel, and the audience feels. We all hear you're passionate about it. That's why you are the president of the Society for Diversity, the nation's leading organization when it comes to DE&I training. But you put your finger on it quite nicely. All of this is connected, as you said earlier, and it's all about two things: demographics and power. Don't lose sight of that. If you take nothing else away from this conversation, Leah's point was powerful at the very beginning. That's about demographics. It's about power. And we'll leave it there for the moment as we await the decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. Leah, thanks for coming on. All the best. You talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Hour 2 of Tavis, Smiley. After news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.